Hello and welcome to Real Adult Wisdom. And this is the third time we've attempted this. So, three times is a charm. We've had technical difficulties. However, welcome to Real Adult Wisdom. I'm your host, Becky Schaefer. And today I am so excited to my guest, Jennifer Hendershott. Why did I say Jennifer?
That's like
I've never
the
seen Jennifer.
yeah,
Jen Hendershott. We grew up in the same town, haven't seen each other for 36 years since we passed each other in the hallway. And we're coming together as authors after many years life, of life. So I'm bringing Jen on. She just wrote a book. And I'm actually, Jen, I'm going to let you actually take over because I talk a lot. Well, I know you do as well. But I'm going to let you take over a little bit and just kind of talk a little bit about your book. And then, of course, I have plenty of questions to ask you. And I'm excited for you to be able to share your book on this platform.
well, first of all, thank you for having me and being
Absolutely.
patient, trying to get all this done after three tries. I mean, if anything, I guess we can say we've climbed a mountain together. Um,
Yes.
and secondly, I've been called a lot of names, and Jennifer is fine. So I can handle it. I have been, I if I named all the names people called me, you probably wouldn't have me on your show. So we'll just leave that one. We'll just leave that one with Jen. How's that?
That's good. That's fine.
So the book, it's called Life in One Shot, and it is about basically my passion and my love for, um, basically my my life. Like I talk a lot of, it's an autobiography. I talk a lot about, what my how my life started in the same town as you. You and I talked about this. Like we lived in the same town, but we had very, very different upbringings. We had very different families. We didn't know that at the time, but we do know that now. It's very, very powerful. So the book basically it's about my childhood, and it goes on into some of the really tough times I had in college, and then onto a fitness career where I had some very, very big highs and some really shitty lows. Um, and then it goes on into the last basically 13 years of my life, which has been basically nothing but humanitarian work and spending my life in retirement, but it's also my life of service and feeling very blessed to have a life in service, to help and serve people and the community and a lot of different people and places and things that people will read about in the book. I share a lot of stories. It's really beautiful, actually. Every time I read the book, I cry um, because I relive certain stories from my book. And then I also read the book and I say, I cannot believe I have done all this in
Yeah.
54 years. And so then I start to really like life really starts to settle in on me and I say, okay, I've accomplished a lot, but now what else can I do? So that's where I'm at, and that's the brief version of the book.
I'm going to, and thank you for sharing that too. I'm so excited to actually get a hold of your physical copy. However, I'm going to go back because we talked a lot about this the other day. We grew up in a small town, Ashland, Ohio, which was a great place for us to grow up at that time.
Yeah.
But we did talk about how we almost had limits put onto us. And it was interesting because neither one of us knew that we both felt that way until we talked the other night. And we're like, we felt like people put a limit on us, and we were almost told like, you can't go to college, you got to like get married and get a house and raise a family. Like, why would you leave Ashland and go to college? And we were both like, oh hell no, I'm out of here. And I know I was out the day after graduation. So I guess my question for you right now would be, what inside of you I know what mine is. Did not allow those limits to be placed on you.
Um, I think I'm a dreamer. I think there's a lot of people who dream. And I think that when I talk about this in the book, when I was in high school, I got offered this incredible job to go and teach cheerleading all over the United States to younger kids, and the ability and the opportunity to travel. Once I left Ashland, packed my suitcase for those summers, and I went from city to city to state, and I realized, holy crap, the state of Ohio is way bigger than Ashland. That was the first realization. The second realization was when I left the state of Ohio, I'm like, holy crap, there's so much to see besides the state of Ohio. And I think that just once I flipped that switch, I just became so thirsty for it. And then it just like, I want more. I don't want to stay stuck. I want to fly. And I didn't know what that looked like. I mean, I had no money. I had, no college degree. It was, again, growing up in a middle class home, with four brothers and not really sure what my future looked like. I just, I had parents that I guess, they said basically like, if you want to leave, you got to figure it out because we don't have the money to support you. And so I left. I figured it out. I worked, 4 jobs and barely made ends meet. Ate a lot of ramen noodles, a lot of Boone's Farm. That's, you do what you got to do. You know what I'm saying? So I just did it. I didn't overthink it. I think that's one of the things people do. I think they overthink things, and they just need to just stop self-sabotaging, stop the bullshit, and just go do it. And fly. Just try. I mean, what's the worst thing you can happen? You fail. Big deal.
Right. Well, I think I was telling you the other night, I look at this as life as a track. So I think of the big oval track, and we're jumping hurdles, and sometimes we just fall flat on our ass, and sometimes we jump the hurdle and there's a big pothole that we fall in and twist an ankle, but somehow we still got to get up and keep going. And that's kind of how I looked at it when I left Ashland. Same thing. My mom was a teacher there, definitely no money. And I had to figure it out as well. But I think going from a small town to a big city, you kind of open your eyes to opportunities that are offered to you that you never, ever even knew about. Because, I mean, I was milking cows and like playing sports, and yeah, it was very interesting to go to a city and realize that there are opportunities and real jobs. Like I think I worked at Taco Bell in high school because there really wasn't anywhere to work there either. Yeah.
And you know what, Becky? When you were milking cows, I was tipping them. I meant to tell you that the other day. I actually went cow tipping. Like me and my best friend Jen. Yes, we and a couple. I won't say all their names because they'll kill me. But that's what we used to do for fun in Ashland. I mean, if you weren't drinking, you were tipping cows. So, or chasing boys.
Okay, I was driving up and down Claremont Avenue.
Okay. Yeah, that's a thing.
Went to McDonald's and hung out all the time. Yeah, it was wow. All that fun we had. All that fun we had. So I want to go into, because you went from a very, very high performing part of your life, and I'm going to have you share that. So you went from like high performing identity to now like an author, coaching, speaker, completely opposite of all the training you were doing. So if you could just share a little bit with the audience that experience, because I know you write about it a little bit in your book, but just give them little crumbs so that they want to buy the meal.
So I was a 2-time, so I ended up being a 2-time Miss Fitness Olympia and a 2-time Miss Fitness International champion. I spent 13 years training that, which is incredibly disciplined and intense and timely and financially timely. So it's everything that, is a lot of everything. And so, but I'm a very intense person. So I I feel like I was definitely designed for that career, and very successful and very blessed to be successful. And then basically, when I retired from doing that, because I knew my body was, I was pushing 40 at the time, and I was thinking, gosh, I can't sustain this level of wellness forever. And so I decided that I would kind of just take a break. The burnout was really, really intense. I think we all have experienced some sort of burnout in our lifetime, and for me, it was really bad. And I had a dad whose health was also starting to shift, and I saw that, and that was really important to me. And so I basically just kind of shifted away from the fitness life, sold a couple businesses, and quit public speaking, quit traveling for a while, and just really focused, kind of come back around, starting a nonprofit organization, putting all of my passion, my love, and my heart into an organization to actually help people where it wasn't really about me anymore. My whole life has always been about me. I'm the only girl of 5 kids. I'm always on a pedestal, and being in the fitness career, and you're like the top of your game, everyone's eyes are on you. And it's just like, it's great. Don't get me wrong, but it's a lot. And so now I'm in a place where I don't really want it to be like that. I want to be able to continue to bless people and just love people and help them when they need help, whether it's emotional, spiritual, physical, financial. And I talk about this in my book. I think it's beautiful. And I was reading over some things today on the plane. My dad was really big in AA in Ashland, Ohio. A lot of people will be able to remember my dad, and maybe they had a parent that would remember my dad. And I didn't really know the level of greatness of my father until the day he died. And we had his funeral, and there was this ginormous line of people that I have never seen in my life waiting to come in and speak to me and my family. And when they came in, they were saying things like, I don't know how I'm going to live without your dad. Your dad has helped keep me sober for 10 years. I don't know what I would have done without your dad. And I remember thinking to myself, how do I not know you? And how do I not know this? And so the moral of the story is that sometimes kindness doesn't need applause. And I am in that stage in my life. Like, I do so much, and I talk a lot about it in my book, but I didn't put it all in my book. I'm not looking for applause. I'm looking to inspire people to understand that you don't have to be, me. You just have to be your best version of yourself, and then just spread kindness and love. Any way that you feel that maybe your heart's being pulled or tugged on, it's a beautiful thing to feel. And you just said it earlier about the homeless man you're helping. Like, you're feeling that today. Like, it's, we can't save everyone, but we can save someone. And that's what I share a lot in my book.
So what I love about your book and my book, and I know we talked about this when we were together on Tuesday, it's basically our books they're different stories, but they're really the same.
Yes.
But what I like is, we don't just grow up in places, we absorb beliefs. And I think growing up where we grew up, we did see hard work. We did see our parents work hard. So that was instilled with us, which allowed us to kind of fly out of the nest and go do what we both have done. Your discipline, though, that's a whole nother level. I mean, that's like, yeah, I need an Oreo cookie every now and then, but so I applaud you for all that discipline. It was fun to watch your career. But when we talk about places that we grew up in, our environment, and I know the other day we were talking about, it's amazing how you can grow up down the road from somebody and have no idea what is going on in somebody's life. And you don't realize that until you're our age, and we're living life without somebody giving us permission. We're doing it because we gave ourselves permission. And we allowed ourselves to be vulnerable to write a lot of things that we've experienced in a book, more in hopes that people that are going through this can start believing in themselves and realize, you're not alone. You have other people that have experienced similar things, if not similar. It all doesn't have to be the exact same thing, but people are not alone. I think that's our message. I know we talked about that the other night. Like, nobody's alone out there. Even if they're feeling alone, like, you're not alone. And I've been in that place where I felt completely alone. And it's the moment that you realize life's not really waiting on you. We're waiting to live life. And I guess we didn't wait. We just went and lived it, So you went from professionalism, and actually, I kind of want you to share what you do for hurricanes, because that, like, I wanted to cry the other day, especially after living a hurricane here, because I've never experienced that. Like, we get tornadoes in Ohio, we had to go in the bathtub how many times, but I think I lived through one tornado in 1978 or something like that. It like came through Billy Lakes.
Yeah, sounds right. That sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was after the winter storm.
Jeez.
See, like, people don't know what we're talking about, because it's like, yeah, we can sit here and talk about our hometown, but it's going through this whole identity and growing up and going through these different phases in our life and not getting stuck in that doorway. And I think a lot of people get stuck in that doorway, and they live in this fear to walk outside that doorway. And that's kind of how I look, because I know we called Ashland I call it a bedroom community. And what'd you call it?
I don't remember.
Yeah, so
we've called it a lot of things.
Well, because it used to be a factory town, and then a lot of factories closed, so then a lot of people lived there. But I feel like at times, people just feel like they're stuck and they don't know how to get on the other side of that door. And it's fear. It's not that they can't do it. It's this fear. And I guess that's where I come from with well, why not you be the one to, walk out that door? Why not you be the one to go to college? And why not you be the one to go compete and become one of the best fitness people in the world, or become one of the best teachers in the world? I mean, like, or do this stuff. Because if we didn't grow up where we did, and we didn't go through the stuff that we went through, we wouldn't be sitting here talking on this podcast today. And, most people don't fear failure. They actually fear self-trust. And you had that self-trust in you to be able to go and do what you did. And now you have the self-trust in yourself to write a book and to get that out there, because we're exposing ourselves. Like, it's a vulnerable thing. And I'm really proud of you for doing that. Very proud of you.
Same to you.
Actually, I was very excited when I saw, oh my God, Jen's writing a book. We're from the same town. We're authors. Holy shit. We are authors. We're like,
yeah, I mean,
published authors.
Yeah. And I think you say we have a lot of the similarities, and I think, yes, that's very true. But we also are, you and I talked about this, very different. Also, Ashland roots.
Mm-hmm.
I do think also that some people do feel stuck. I do think that some people love small town,
Mm-hmm.
and that's okay.
Yeah.
And you and I talked about this too. Like, I was not made to live in a small town. I need a lot of energy. I need sunshine. Seasonal depression's like a real thing. I have it.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. And so I just needed more, and I love visiting Ashland. I'm in Ashland all the time. I go back and I appreciate it. I appreciate the people, and I appreciate I'm actually pretty proud to be from there, to be honest with you. When it comes down to it, we just got voted the best small town in Ohio. Did you know that?
I did not.
Yes, we're on the cover of Ohio. I think it's Ohio Magazine, and it says best small town, which I think is amazing because a lot of that is just kind of reflection of what's going on there and how they're kind of restoring the
Hmm.
downtown and all this, you know, greatness. And that also says a lot about the university, and it just says a lot about what's going on. And that's pretty cool. You can say you're from the best small town in Ohio.
Well, I think I used to say I'm from where the grass is greener. Because
Yes.
isn't that on the, it's on a bridge, like as if you're on Route 71 heading north, it says where the grass is greener. Like, I am from where the
Yeah,
grass is
I
greener.
think you're right. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to say I do like that you use the word one shot, because I find that as a very, very powerful phrase, like emotionally. Um, but what did the one shot mean to you besides just your last name? Like, there's such a meaning to that.
Well, I always say to people, you know, we only live once, you know, so it was basically trying to tie in my name and that motto, like you only live once, you get one shot at this. You got to make it the best you can possibly make it with what resources you have, and you know, leave a legacy. You know, you want people lined up at the door talking about you. I mean, don't you? I mean, who doesn't want people to say, "I shit, I can't live without that person," you know? And
Hmm.
so the title of the book was a struggle because we had so many options, and um, life in one shot just felt right for me, and I just really proud to be a Hendershott. And I wanted to represent my family, and I wanted to represent our name, and
Hmm.
so that just kind of opened the door for me to use it all together, I guess.
I love that. I love that. Um, yeah, so my title, actually, I have a whole bunch of my books right here behind me. But um, so with my book, I was sitting around and we were just kind of asking, like, I was talking with a friend, actually. She's the one who really encouraged me to write my book. And she's like, we're talking about how people live in victimhood. And, and not that some people don't, you don't, you do have permission for a day or two, you know, that you can live in the
Yeah.
poor me, but then it's time to like get out of it. And we were talking about how so many people live in the why me, why me, why did this happen to me? And so I'm like, well, why not me? Well, two other authors have written a book called Why Not Me? And I'm like, well, I can't do that. I got to have my own. So this is where I came up, with my concepts. And I came up with 5 concepts in my book, which were really important to me, especially with my background, and one was reframing victimhood, teaching people how to reframe victimhood, and then reclaiming your worthiness. Like, everybody's worthy, no matter what.
Right.
No matter what, that if that cheerleading coach told you that you weighed a pound too much, or I can't even imagine everything you went through in the fitness world. I mean, I went through it just at a gym for a short time, so I can't even imagine at your level. But just reclaiming your worthiness. For me, it was really important to break a cycle. You know, um, a cycle, I think, on my father's side that came from, he was abused and then he abused us. I had a brother, unfortunately, that he was an abuser, but then he actually got the help he needed. So it was just breaking a cycle. The courage to try is really important and something I really teach a lot because of the word fear that comes in there. And then, of course, the psychological growth that comes with all the work that you put in this. So it was really important for me to build the why not me concept on 5 pillars, because those 5 pillars really hold up who we are. And you can really go into depth with those pillars, which I do in my book. Um, and it's really the unraveling of my life that really revealed, you know, who I was and allowed me to actually finally start talking about it, and not be afraid to talk about it and not have the fear to talk about it. Um, yeah. And so I don't think people realize sometimes when you're putting your experience or things that you've been through, that's a very vulnerable thing, and you're putting it down on words. It's a scary thing because you're like, oh my gosh, what if somebody judges me for this? What if? But it's like, why not? Go ahead and, why not me be the one to do this? And let me tell you, this has been so amazing. And I think you're going to get the same. I'm 2 months in and you're just starting. It is absolutely amazing. I had someone reach out yesterday and said, oh my gosh, I am stuck on chapter 8. I have read it 3 times now. And I was like,
That's awesome.
I'm like, I need to go look at chapter 8 real quick.
Yeah,
But
that's
I'm like,
awesome.
oh my gosh, that's amazing. So something in chapter 8 really resonated with this person and helped her. And I thought that was just a beautiful thing. And you're going to get to experience that as well as soon as people start reading your book, which is absolutely amazing. So it just takes a different type of discipline. And, discipline often looks very powerful to the outside person, but it can be pretty damn lonely on the inside. And so, did you go through that while you were going through your fitness? Because it can be a little lonely at times.
I wouldn't say necessarily went through it during the fitness stage. It's probably more after.
Okay.
Because my identity for so long was this person, right?
Yeah.
This perfect image, right? And thankfully, I did not have social media when I was doing this. Thank God. Um, and so, because I can't imagine having social media and you know, and dealing with the criticism and the naysayers behind the screen, it's really intense. And so, um, anyways, what's the core to the question you want to know? Because I can see the clock ticking. Sorry, I got distracted. Sorry.
I think we're both
There's so
able.
much traffic, by the way, and I do apologize. It's 5 o'clock, and I live across the street from the beach. All the lifeguards are literally coming in on their four-wheelers.
That's okay because most of us are living in rain and a lot of people are listening to this from snow. So now you can give them the
Oh,
image of a
sorry.
beach and lifeguards.
Yeah, look, in green. Hey, I do know one thing that you said that I do want to comment on. I told somebody the other day, I said, look, my story is not more unique than your story.
Yeah.
And Becky, your story is not more unique than my story, vice versa. I said, the difference between Becky and Jen in the world is that we're just putting it on paper and sharing it.
Mm-hmm.
So anybody can write a book. Anybody can and share, and anybody can be brave enough to put it into the universe. And then once you do that, like you said, then people start commenting and they start saying, my gosh, I'm stuck here because I'm just obsessed with this chapter. And like that means that you're making a difference, Becky. And that's the most beautiful thing about being a human being, I think, is when you can actually make a difference and the world isn't about you. um, it's just so amazing to feel that no matter what it is, it's just really incredible. So anybody can write a book and anybody can share and anybody can put it on paper.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are processing this or listening to this, go do it. Go, you know, do whatever you want to do because you got one shot. So
One shot. Why not you? Right.
right.
I think for me personally, I think when I look back at my child self, and I had a very hard assignment by a therapist to write a letter to my child self, and that took me longer to write than this book.
Wow.
And when I wrote my child self, that was probably my first huge healing of what I went through, as a child. And I think with that, um, it allowed me to kind of look at the world a little differently, to be honest. And I knew when I wrote this book, I'm like, if this book can get into one person's hand, I don't care if it gets into 5,000 hands, but if it gets into that one hand of someone who's been sexually abused or physically abused,
Mm-hmm.
and they can read this book and actually realize they are not dirty, they are not a failure, that they are worthy and what happened to them is not their fault. And that they also deserve to have a beautiful life, because we do get one shot at life and it's what we make it. And I always in my head put, you know what happened to me was this much of time. And I have way more than I can even show on a computer screen of time left in my life. And I don't want to live my life because of that little bit of time that I went through hell. I want to take that hell and I want to make it so maybe other people don't hurt as much or go through some of the stuff I went through, because people didn't talk about this stuff when we were growing up. This stuff was not talked about like it is today. Today, it's definitely more open. It's definitely more accepted as a conversation. But when I was growing up, I had no idea. And you talk about feeling alone. And I hid behind sports and athletics and academics. And I wrote. And that's where I hid. I would go sit at that creek by Brookside Park.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I would write about rocks. Like I would write about rocks and how their life is so turned upside down because of the water, because the water flows down the river and the rocks move and people step on them and people sit on them and people pick them up and throw them. And I literally like compared myself to a rock in that creek. Like, that's just so crazy. I can't believe that just came up in my head. But if one person gets a hold of my book and they know that they're worthy and not dirty and that they have this amazing opportunity, they're not alone, then I did my job, my purpose.
So in the book, I talk about that. I say, and you as a teacher and myself starting out as a teacher, I had a professor at Ohio State say to me, if you change one life, you've made a difference. And I remember sitting there thinking, well, that's kind of bullshit. Like, why just one?
Right.
What do you mean just one? Like, I want to change it. I want to change a lot. Like, I want to change everybody. I want to help everybody. And I just remember that overwhelming feeling like, what do you mean just one? Like 1 in 25? Like, what kind of a crap statistic is that? And so that's what I would say to you about the book. And I say that, like, your book isn't going to help one person. It's going to help a number of different people. And, that's kind of the purpose behind my book. Somebody's going to read the chapter about grief, because I talk about grief and depression and the amount of time that you go through in a grief stage and in a depressed stage based on losing someone or having, I went through a miscarriage. It was an awful experience. I share that in the book. My parents' divorce was very difficult. And so it talk about a lot of these things. And I know people can relate to this of all ages. And I just want to help. I want people, like you said earlier, I just want people to feel like they're not alone. And, we're kind of in this, this shit together. Like, we're here to just kind of navigate. And you and I are willing to just step up on a platform here and say, hey, we want to help you and we want to share our story and, reach out to us. Let's talk. Like, let's talk. It's awesome.
Absolutely. Absolutely love it. And your book is on pre-order right now, and it officially...
Yeah. So everyone should have it in their hand by February 1st. Okay. It is on pre-order. It's a great time to get it. You can get it an autographed version. You can get a regular version. It is on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and 70 other retailers. But bigshott.com, bigshott.com. It's kind of like my hub / platform. If you just want to talk to me or you need advice or you want to hire me to come speak or you want to, buy the book or buy some fun apparel. I have I'm using different taglines from my book to create like fun apparel, like t-shirts and hats and stuff. Cause that's kind of like my thing. I love trendy stuff. And so Follow Your Heart, Not Your Ego is the first one that we're
Ooh, I
launching,
love it.
and it's been really fun. That line was basically given to me by my pastor when I was going through a really hard time and having a really hard time, like between my heart, what my heart wanted, and what my ego. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. So it's a very powerful story in the book. So
Well, I just want to say, first of all, thank you so much for being on this podcast.
thank
And
you.
secondly, this has just been an absolutely amazing reunion. I just can't even thank you enough for sharing your story, your wisdom, your heart, so open with this book and just being on here. And this conversation, it's just powerful. It's a reminder that reinvention doesn't follow one path, that sometimes it comes through discipline, decisive action. And sometimes it comes through healing, reflection, and learning to trust yourself again. But no matter how we arrive there, growth begins with a choice, and the choice to stop waiting and start honoring you and who you're becoming. And I think it's great because you touch on that in the book without saying those exact words. But what I love about bringing Life in One Shot and the Why Not Me concept together is that they meet in the same truth. That life doesn't wait for perfect timing, and worthiness doesn't require proof. Courage rarely feels bold in the moment, and most of the time it feels quiet. The courage feels quiet. That's how I kind of look at it. And it feels like this small decision made without certainty. It's like, okay, I'm going to write a book. Not sure what's going to happen, but I'm going to write it. And you chose that, and you chose yourself to tell that story. So I really can't thank you enough. And it's been really good just meeting up with you. And it just felt like old friends that used to hang out when we didn't really hang out. And, but it was just easy and good. And I want to thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. I feel the exact same way. I'm very grateful that we were reunited. So, and I look forward to the future. Let's do some more of these.
And some speaking. Yes, let's do some speaking.
Yes.
If you guys are listening today and you feel stuck, unsure, or afraid to take the next step, let this be your reminder. Choosing yourself doesn't mean you stop loving others. It just means that you stop abandoning yourself. And you don't need permission for that. And you don't have to have it all figured out. You just need to take the next step to honor yourself. If today's conversation resonated with you, I encourage you to continue the work. Jen's book, Life in One Shot, is a powerful invitation to live with intention and courage. And my book, The Why Not Me concept, is about reframing your story and reclaiming your worth. We want to thank everyone for listening to Real Adult Wisdom. Thank you for being here and choosing growth. Jen, thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone have